I want to be a catalyst in the shift of the Black community. Having Black folks being more accepting of folks of different identities, queer, trans. Having folks learn how to really support each other rather than this individualistic mindset. My name is Marvin Toliver. I am a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Pennsylvania. I'm also co-founder of a collective called Melanated Social Work. I'm a mentor, therapist. I'm a guest lecturer, speaker, radical educator. Do a lot of things. What's up, y'all? For folks that are joining, this is a special Ask Me Anything While I Cook. Yeah. Where are y'all tuning in from? How are y'all feeling today? This journey has absolutely not been what I imagined it to be. Yeah, not at all. Somebody has a question. What led you to get into social work? So the first answer is kind of a bubbly, flowery answer of like, I want to change the world and I want to, do good. But the more personal answer is that I wish I had one when I was growing up. I think I was a social worker just without the title. In middle school, I was always the one breaking up fights. I was trying to talk people into staying with their middle school relationships. And I just love to help people. I served 2 years with an AmeriCorps program called City Year. We worked with the lowest performing schools. And the focus for a lot of those programs is education. But how is this student gonna focus in his math class if mommy and daddy are fighting each other every night? How are you gonna ensure that Brianna is gonna get good grades when she's worried about where her next meal is gonna come from? In my master's program, being one of the only Black men in a lot of those spaces, you feel a responsibility because you don't want your narrative written or spoken for you, especially by white folks. At the same time, it's a lot of pressure because I don't represent the entire Black community. What's up, y'all? This is Marvin here in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, and welcome to another episode of the Melanated Social Work podcast. Luckily, I met the other 3 gentlemen from Melanated Social Work, so that was a bright spot. We would have classes together and we would just make sure folks look at different perspectives. Or if you're talking about a new intervention or a new theory, ask, okay, well, how will this affect low-income communities of color? Will they have access to this type of support? What do you think our role is as men? Knowing our platform, knowing that women, for the most part, have been really riding for us.
We've had lots of separate conversations about this recently and trying to figure out what does this platform look like, particularly being for cis men.
We got to be able to hold each other accountable in a meaningful way, in a way that really starts to shift the culture.
Most, if not all, of the issues that a lot of my clients deal with, when you look at the root causes, it's systems. I had a client that was struggling with severe depression. A lot of people in our community will place blame on her. Oh, you're 40 and you're not married and no kids? What's wrong with you? Right? But the issue is, how are we policing women and their bodies and their existence?
I have a client who is struggling with showing up as themselves in a new relationship. They are non-binary, mid-30s, not a whole lot of experience with queer relationships, specifically queer sex.
Is there bravado around sex or sexuality with this person?
It feels like a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Okay.
What are some questions I could ask to feel out, where gender may be coming in through here, internalized homophobia?
Khalida Sethi and Sonali Rachatoir are the founders of Radical Therapy Center. They experienced a lot of racism in their grad school programs, and they actually bonded over that. They were just we really want to start something for folks like us. And so really thinking about, okay, what does homosexuality or queerness mean to you? Has that been something that has been shamed? And so when folks are growing up, you say this person is mid-30s, conversations now were not happening back then.
It's barely happening now.
Barely happening.
Yeah.
There's typically an inner voice, that negative inner voice.
Because that inner critic is actually societal.
A lot of folks just blame the person, typically, or blame their parents or caregivers, and they think that it just ends there.
How dope would it be if our clients could expand their parents' world too?
Right.
Generational curses are broken that way, right?
You are the one that's breaking this cycle. In a lot of Black and brown communities, we're used to being yelled at by our parents. We're used to being spanked, whooped, whatever you want to call it. As a therapist now, you kind of realize that oh damn, a lot of those kids that were raised like that have hella anxiety or have hella issues with authority or don't know who they are because they're trying to be who mom or dad or whoever wanted them to be through this punishment. Something that's really difficult to do is to hold that, yes, your parents may have caused harm, but giving them grace, once you can do that, you can kind of let go of some of that anger. A lot of people can't heal because they're afraid of the truth about themselves. And so shame usually sets in. And what shame does is it silences us. Welcome. It's real good to see y'all in person. I know that we've been virtual for a long ass time, so I appreciate y'all for being here, for coming and being in community in person. It's a different energy, right, when we're in person, right? Primarily, I work with Black and brown men, and I was recognizing that regardless of age, regardless of location, regardless of income, a lot of us were going through the exact same things. I came up with the idea to create a group for Black men, facilitated by me, a Black man, and they just have a safe space to build community and to talk about these things. How is it being out and about?
A little paranoid.
A little paranoid.
People acting real stupid out here. And we have 101 murders already.
Kids are doing even more and more dumb. And it makes me kind of think about how Black boys aren't allowed to be children. I mean, we all got that face. What age did y'all develop that face?
Oh, the ice grill, 6. Ice grill?
Very early. As soon as I started being able to go out on my own and go to the park or whatever, it's like embedded in the culture. I feel like, especially in Philly, is like you out past a certain time, you don't talk to people, you know what I mean?
My dad gave me all the lessons, like, don't look too happy when you're on the train. I'm a kid, though.
This is all learned behavior.
You were raised in a different neighborhood where you had like different resources.
Yep.
You can realize that like, oh, we have a conflict. We can like go to Starbucks and sit down over coffee and like have a conversation.
But your environment sets a different tone.
Yes. Where we are right now in a lot of different communities, absolutely, you need your ice grill. You probably gonna have to fight in order to make some shit go away. But what are we doing to change this narrative? When you think about, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't think I've ever heard anybody say a social worker. How do I show other Black and brown men that like this is a field that you can get into, you can make a decent amount of money, and you're needed? I want there to be more social workers that bring issues of race, of racism, of white supremacy, patriarchy, heteronormativity. I want folks that are going to name all of those things, regardless of the identities of their clients. I want there to be more radical social workers. I am Marvin Toliver, and I'm a cycle breaker.